Well, a radio station in Bani Walid is urging residents to rise up against the revolutionaries who are being portrayed as invaders. But the fighters say nothing can stop them now. Anita McNaught is on the outskirts of the town.
As the sun sets for yet another day on one of the headquarters of the Southern Brigade sent to fight in Bani Walid, the fighters here wait patiently for the orders to move on Bani Walid, orders which haven't actually come yet, although we understand they may be imminent. A little confusion about why the fighters are fighting off and on the north of the city, but not yet ordered to move into the south. They say they believe it's strategic without possibly knowing quite what that strategy might be. In the meantime, we've been listening to Bani Walid radio, what the people in that town are being told. They're being told to rise up and fight the invaders. We understand from one of the fighters we spoke to that they're saying that there's been a deal struck where if they hand themselves over, the fighters will get the pick of the prettiest girls in Bani Walid. That's the kind of propaganda they're being fed in that town, which still, of course, at this point is holding out against the NTC and refusing to come to any kind of agreement. So an odd sense of anticipation here, a dust storm blowing across the landscape, and the possibility that tomorrow will be a very different day.
Now, fighters loyal to Gaddafi are still holding out in several key areas, including Bani Walid, and Sue Turton is on the outskirts of that town.
A steady stream of families have been coming out of Bani Walid up this road today, Sunday, saying that they're trying to escape the clashes between the two sides in the city centre. We hear from the field commander that those clashes are continuing because his fighters are trying to clear out the Gaddafi forces inside of Bani Walid. We've obtained some of the first pictures of fighting inside the city centre, just close to the northern gate, where fighters are trying to take out some of the snipers who are positioned there and who are pinning them back and have claimed at least one of their lives. You can also see from these pictures that Bani Walid is made up of lots of villages. It's a sprawling area, it's not a heavily populated city, and that's also proving difficult with it being covered across a large area for the fighters to find the Gaddafi forces. We've also heard more detail about what happened on Friday night, the deadline of midnight. The Libyan fighters were expecting the pro-revolutionaries inside of the city to rise up at that hour, but it never happened. They don't know whether that's because the Gaddafi forces there are much more powerful and have a stranglehold over those pro-revolutionaries, or whether it's because there aren't as many pro-revolutionaries as they had hoped.
Pro-Gaddafi forces have attacked an oil refinery near the coastal city of Ras Lanuf, and we're hearing that 16 people have been killed. Let's go to our correspondent, Huda Abdul Hamid, who's at a hospital in Ras Lanuf. Huda, what are you hearing about this attack on the refinery, first of all?
Well, the details are still emerging, but it was definitely a very bold attack. Now, from what we understand from the fighters who are here now at the moment, it happened very early in the morning. A column of vehicles, it's unclear how many vehicles exactly, came from the south, so from the desert, towards the checkpoint of the Ras Lanuf oil complex, and attacked the guards who were there. 15 of them would have died and 5 others severely wounded.
In terms of the importance of Ras Lanuf, it was one of those places that we heard a lot about at the beginning of the conflict. Then it seemed to go away. An important oil refining area, therefore crucial to the economy of whichever people have it.
Well, it is very crucial, and actually most of the fighting over the past 7 months here in the eastern front line was always around these oil complexes. Each time the Gaddafi forces pushed east, they stopped short just after the oil complexes to make sure that both Brega and Ras Lanuf was under their control. Now, the National Army and a specific unit of the National Army which is in charge of protecting this oil refinery just moved in a couple of days ago in the oil refinery. They were trying to start it up not only for the oil but also to bring back some sort of life to this area, because that's where you also have the power plant. They were in charge of that oil refinery. They were sort of combing it, making sure that there was nothing left behind, and this happens just a few days after they come into that oil refinery. And there's also another concern here, is that the front line is about 80 kilometers to the west towards Sirte, it, and we're quite far away from it. And what we are seeing emerging, at least from this morning's attack, is that the Gaddafi loyalists can still go through the desert and come to areas which are considered liberated.
Thank you. That's Abdelhamid in Ras Lanouf.